Hey, this is Noogie from GuardianTalesGuides.com, and I'm going to go over how to select the right raiding guild for you. And this is kind of a near and dear topic to my heart because I've been raiding in games for like a long time. Like I've been running guilds in different games that raid with multiple people, usually all at once, where I just kind of dictate this, that, the other. This is more like an individual raiding thing, but nonetheless. Um, So first and foremost, I am outside of the normal range of players, right? So the age of a normal player is like 20 to 35. I am older than that. I've been doing online guild management and raiding since I was like 15. And when I was younger, I played professionally for FPSs and stuff like that, FPS games. So it's been a long time. So I kind of see a lot of patterns throughout my time of what kind of players move on quicker, what people disband the guilds, just patterns. Like mergers never really work, yada yada yada, things like that, right? I just see those things over time, and I'm at this point my accuracy is pretty solid. So what I was going to do, and I also have the unique perspective of I am a recruiter, typically in every one of those games. So I'm going to try to go over the things in which you should look for or can look for if you're kind of getting into rating, right? So this could be, this is not for people that are casually like, I want to join a guild and then I'm going to meet some people and make some connections. And every once in a while I'll raid. That'll be cool. This is not for you. If that's what you like to do, awesome. Enjoy it. No problem with that. But this is for really people that are actually trying to move up the ranks in rating or like they're getting into it or whatever, and they don't want to necessarily, like, if I do videos about being efficient with resource spending, this is me giving you a video on how to be efficient with your guild's time spending. What I mean by that is you don't want to join a crappy guild, be there for like 3 months and have wasted your time. Like, so I'm going to try to help you find the right guild for you, or with you through advice, and then hopefully you get to the happy place that you want to be sooner rather than later without making as many mistakes as I've made in my time. So first and foremost, if you're just getting into raiding and you haven't raided before, you're going to go to that guild tool that allows you to search for guilds. Now, I don't know where that is. I can't show you where that is because I'm in guilds on both of my accounts, right? So step number one, figure it out, right? Search for guilds. Now, when you do that, you want to search around for 5-10 minutes, right? Find and like find a guild that actually has the lowest rank possible, right? And then I think you can click on it and see how well that guild did, right? On their profile. I believe you can. Find a guild that did pretty well. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this is simply because public guilds that allow you to join, like they just allow you to join, those aren't ever going to be super great guilds. They're going to be just guilds that need people. And that's fine. They're not going to be like top 20 guilds, most likely. But depending on your server, right? Because maybe on North America 1, maybe it is top teams. I don't know, whatever. But my point here, though, is that don't get super excited that their rank looks real great, right? Just pick a guild that everything looks good, they have a near max amount of members, and you can join. So once you get in there, right, you're going to start building up your raid damage. Now keep in mind real quick, like this is a stepping stone, right? I'm not saying you won't make great people connections or whatever, but these guilds usually aren't like, oh, hey, this is how I am. What's going on? These people, this is chat in game and it's not super great. Like the chat module in the game is not easy. It's just not conducive to really chatting with a lot of other players. It's more frustrating than anything. So you're going to get in here. You're going to do what you got to do. Probably move on to a bigger and better guild. So, but you're going to learn how to raid, right? And just look at the rankings, see who the number one damage dealer is, see where they are, and then just start rating, right? And then eventually you're going to move on to the place in which we really kind of come to this guide is actively selecting a better guild, right? So here's the deal. When you're actively selecting a better guild, you're probably going to go to Reddit, most likely. I mean, like our Discord, GuardianTalesGuides.com Discord has a recruiting channel. The official Guardian Tales has a recruiting channel. Typically, our recruiting channel is probably going to be a little bit more competitive, but Reddit has a lot of the stuff. Even on the site, we have recruiting, but I mean, there's multiple places to look, right? I just named off 4 of them. That being said, recruiting on any one of these things, they're gonna show you like the rank of their guild, and they're gonna show you a little paragraph of their guild. Cool, that's great. All of it sounds great, but where I'm going to take this video is the things you should ask and the things that they should be asking for, and then you can kind of get a more informed decision. So let's say theoretically, and I kind of have a unique perspective because I'm saying what you should do as a player, but I'm also the guy that's going to recruit, right? So I would be on the other end of recruiting. So I can say what I've learned over time and the best practices. So questions like if I'm a recruiter, the first thing I'm going to do is say, what's your presets? Let me see your presets. Well, what did you do damage-wise? And let me see your presets. I think that's part of the course for any guild leader. That shows that they actually care about what's going on. They're going to take a direct interest into your growth, right? It also lets me know if they did 500 million and their presets are so wrong on itemization, with a few small suggestions, I could bump them up to 600 million or something like that, right? Which happens every time, actually. Every single time I recruit, I can be like, change this, change this, change this, and then it bumps them up. But whatever. So once you get in there, a lot of the times these people just need spots. So they'll probably recruit you. If it's in a top 50 guild, they probably just need some spots if you do some decent damage. And you have raid damage to prove. You have raid damage to prove from your previous guild how you did. And they'll look at that, and that's great, right? But these are the things that you're going to ask them if they don't already ask or give you the answers directly. First one, where would I have ranked in your guild in the last raid season? You want to be middle of the range, right? You don't want to be the last 5. You don't want to be the last 5 damage dealer, because that just means that you're potentially temporary. If they remove people based on damage, you are potentially temporary. Because if they have a better damage dealer come in, those last people are going to be the ones that are removed. Then ask for the top damage of the damage dealers, or the top damage dealers, like a screenshot of it. The reason why you do that is because if the top damage dealers are comprised of a guild leader, that's great. But if the top damage dealer is like doing 700 while everybody else is doing 300, if that person leaves, and it's not the guild leader, if that person leaves, that guild is going to be demoralized and it will disband. It just will. Or it'll be so hard for them to come back. You don't want to put yourself in that position, so make sure you have a nice, even flow of damage being thrown off of the top damage dealers, right? Next thing I'd ask is, how many people are on your Discord? Are we required to be on Discord? How active is your Discord? And the reason why I say that is, if you're trying to get organized, you have to have Discord. It's kind of the standard nowadays. You kind of have to have Discord. For my guild, when I came into it, it was the only reason why I came into the guild. It was the only top 20 guild that wouldn't require me to have Discord. Eventually, and then you could see the leadership was really crappy. They had a Discord. Nobody was required to be on it. And I think there was a handful of people who were on it. But eventually, I created a Discord. And I was like, all right, we need to be on this more. And then things got more organized. And I can still remember the last person we had in the guild that would not get on Discord. And we required everybody to be on Discord. And when we removed them, things felt a lot better because we could now organize from a central place. Game chat does not suffice. So, but either way, you want to know, are we required to be on Discord? And if they say no, just understand that that's a hit to leadership. But it's also probably gets them a lot more members, right? If they are required to be on Discord, if you like that, that's cool. If not, okay, then go elsewhere. Just understand that you need to be cool with that, right? Next thing is, and this only really happens at the higher guilds, am I required to spend money? And that's a thing, right? Because in the top 5, right, predominantly have people that spend some money. We just do. We have way more people that put money in than are free to play. And that's fine. We don't require it, but it's like a passive thing. Like, to stay at least competitive, you need to spend at least a few bucks every month, right? Maybe not 100 or something, but just spend a few bucks every month. But you need to know that for you, right? And if the answer is, like, it's also one of those things, see what kind of person they are, right? If they say no, you're like, all right, well, okay, that's cool. If they're the higher level guild, if they say no, they're just trying to get you in. That's not a good answer. Like, I will always say, look, man, I would not mind you spending some money on the game, especially where you're geared. Because if their gear level, their presets are lower than what they need, I'll say, like, you got to put some resources into your account to get it to where it needs to be in a short amount of time. And that I'll make that not a requirement, but I'm like, that definitely, if they're not looking to do that, then maybe I'll look elsewhere to a different recruit. But whatever. But I am in a like top 3 guild, so it's kind of a slightly different thing than top 50. Will I get removed if my damage is too low? This is also a more progressive question. Because it can in some of the guilds, but they sure as hell better tell you that up front. And if they don't, you need to ask it. So you always want to know where you stand, right? And that's also why you don't want to be bottom 5 from their ranks. You want to be in the middle of the road, right? As far as your damage is concerned, as far as their members are concerned. The other thing is, do you want to see my raid presets? Like, that's what you should ask them if they haven't already asked. If they're not looking to see your raid presets, then either they don't know enough about guild leadership, or they don't know enough about itemization, or they don't take enough of a micromanaging kind of thing to kind of help you get better. Because like I said, like, the vast majority of the people that recruit to me, I ask for their presets and they need itemization changes. They just do. And then small things like, hey, use skill cards on your leaders. We'll bump their damage up a bunch, or hey, have you used option stones to max your weapon damage? Stuff like that. Like, it just bumps them up. A little quick audit is always good. And it always shows, like, because I want open-minded players in my guild. So I want to see that back and forth, right? So I want to see how helpful the guild leader is going to be as a recruiter into my growth, because they're investing in it. And the other thing is, how do you deal with the first day raids? It's a lot easier nowadays, but it's kind of a nightmare in general, right? So if they're like, oh, everybody just hits when they can, it's like, okay, that's cool. No real organization. I'd say the first step in really a guild becoming actually super organized is managing the first day properly. There are definitely other steps, and then another step is requiring all people to be on Discord. Like, they're just evolutionary steps for a guild, and at least the very first step would be having some sort of cohesive plan for the first day raid. And if they don't, you just need to understand that, hey, it's maybe not the best led guild in the world. Take that into consideration. And then here's a tricky question for the guild leader, and it'd be fun just to even ask me: how do you deal with vacations? Yeah, if you've watched this and you ask me this question, I'll give you a good laugh, because it's pretty good, because nobody else is going to ask this question. The reason why you say this, though, is it lets you know, like, how full of shit they are, right? Because, like, at the top, at the higher levels of guild, the higher you go, the better in rank you are in a guild you're getting into, they still expect you to raid on your vacation. I'm sorry, they do. I've heard crazy stuff where people, like, during coronavirus, they required you to prove your vaccination. Like, what? Okay. But at the same time, they do want you to parade on your vacations. I can't tell you, like, we joke about this all the time, about, like, bathroom raids and dumb raids that you've had to do. Like, I was talking about my buddy, we were talking to one of my guild members the other day, and he's like, yeah, I was at Disney with my girlfriend. I kept checking my phone. I go, hey, honey, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. He went in there and raided real quick. He came back out. Just dumb stuff like that. Like, one time I had a volleyball tournament, and they were calling me up to the sand to play in the finals, swear. And I'm like, so they're like, where are you? And I'm actually, like, totally I am totally rating Minotaur, because it just refreshed the round, and I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. So I got that out of the way, right? So whatever. Um, so, and then you just want them to be upfront with you. You want them to be like, okay, yeah, you do need a raid, or you don't need a raid, or whatever. I mean, they need to respect you as a person, but it's a good thing to ask. It's kind of a fun one to throw in the spokes. Um, so what you're looking for, really, like I said, middle range on damage, you want to make sure that you're kind of middle of the range. Uh, you want room for growth, but you definitely don't want to be at the bottom. Um, that's just the way it is, unless you're absolutely sure they're not going to remove you. Um, you want to see that the guild leader or recruiter inspects your presets, because if they don't inspect your presets and it's trash, you can get high damage without being good at itemization. We have a person in our guild that was doing 700, and I looked and I'm like, what are you doing? Change that, and they did even more, So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have good itemization, but if you don't, the recruiter should be the first line of defense to say, hey, if you fix these small things, you can fix it forever. So that's not a good sign if they're not looking at your presets. You want an active Discord. Even if you're not using it, you want other people to use it. If they have an active Discord, if they're actually talking a lot, it improves the life length, or the length of the guild life. It just does. There is a reason why video games put guilds and community into the game, because it retains the players longer. And if you have an active Discord and people are talking and people are bonding and people are creating friendships, it retains length of their membership, right? That's just the way it is. So you want an active Discord. And then depending on where you are mentally, right? Maybe you want to be a big fish in a little pond, right? Maybe you want to be the highest damage dealer. Maybe you don't want to be middle range on damage dealer. You want to be the bestest, best. I will say right now, that's not very good for growth. Like, you will become a better damage dealer if you have people that beat the crap out of you, and you just have to work for it, right? Competition is everything. But if that's what you want to be and that's going to make you happy, go nuts. All right, so people signs, right? I've been doing this for a while, as I said. There's some things that you can see if you do join a guild and you're in there and you're like, am I reevaluating this? If you see emotionally active, complaining players, they will leave first. If you have really excitable players, you have to understand that most of these players, like I said, are slightly older, right? So, being that they're older, they don't look at it as like this week's gonna suck. They're like, this year's gonna be all right, and what I mean by that is, like, if one action today frustrates the crap out of them, they just know that eventually, over the next week, it's going to get better, or it's going to even out, or maybe they're not even looking at a week scale or a year scale or a month scale, whatever. Older players stick around. People that are excited move on. They get a great idea in their head and they just run with it. They run with it, right? So they'll be like, oh, I hate Conquest. I don't want to do Conquest, or whatever it is, right? And they'll just like, I'm just sick of this game, And then they stop. Then they come back. But you don't want those people in your guild. They drag it down, especially if they do really good damage, right? You just don't want those people in your guild. You don't want inactive leadership. They need leadership. You need to be able to go ahead and say, what should we do? Or, more importantly, you don't ask. They just tell you, because they're on the ball, right? You want them to have active leadership. That makes you feel so much better about things. If you're a leader, maybe that's different, but either way, you want direction. You want them to show that. If they don't, problematic. Let's see. As a recruiter, when I go in and I talk to people, there are things that I'm looking for. So maybe this would help, right? I want somebody who wants to be there. That's the biggest thing, is I want them to be there. I want them to want to progress. I want them to go like, oh crap, I could be doing so much better, right? Now, there's a few reasons why I want them to do that. For one, it makes them happy. It makes everybody happy, because we want them to progress and they want to progress, so everybody's happier, right? And two, I mean, I'll be straight up. I play in a progressive guild. I put money into the account. Not a whole lot anymore, but I certainly have in the past. If they want something, they'll put a few bucks in, and that helps everybody. They're helping them. And yeah, look, you're spending money in a video game, but honestly, I play the game enough that it warrants a little bit of spending. It takes so much of my entertainment. I'm fine with spending a few bucks. I'm a video game developer too. I don't mind spending bucks. So that being said, yeah, I want them to progress. I want them to try, and I want them to find whatever way to get them there, because they're just making it easier for the rest of us. And the rest of us are just making it easier for the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're all working in the same thing. Um, I want people that don't have to hit the best bosses. I want people that don't have to hit the highest damage bosses. I want people that are fine to sacrifice it. Like, okay, I'll hit Fairy or I'll hit Shadow Beast, and you hit Harvester, and you hit Worm, and you hit Minotaur. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take a hit sometimes, and it's good. It's so much easier to find a guild full of people that'll actually do that, and luckily I have that. But I don't like necessarily super high damage dealers that require that they hit the best bosses every time. I don't care about itemization when a recruit goes, hey, look here, and they show me the presets. I don't care that their itemization is bad, because I'm going to take my time to help them fix it. I audit every recruit that comes in. If they get accepted, I'm like, look, you can change this, right? If they do it in the middle of a raid season, I'll tell them right then, change it to this, because I want to see how well they do with it. So poor itemization, that doesn't matter to me if I'm recruiting. But for a lot of other recruiters, it probably does. It'd be like, oh, this person doesn't know what he's talking about. This person, whatever. But whatever. We like to take an active role in that. Somebody that's active on Discord. Somebody watches videos on how to get better. Somebody who posts links and says, like, hey guys, this is honestly the best one, is somebody that's like, hey, here's a video on how to do this. Here's a video on that, because that person's a helper. They're not only helping them, but they're helping everybody by sharing content. Those people are awesome, always welcome. So honestly, and somebody that's not excitable, but since most of the people in this game are like older, usually I don't have to worry about that as much. So last thing, signs of a strong guild, right? We've touched base on a lot of this stuff. And then first and foremost, and this goes without saying, they genuinely care about you as a person, not just as a player. They do, right? Like, if you're gonna go on a vacation, they're gonna be like, have a good time, man. Like, just enjoy it, whatever. Now the problem is, and the big fallacy is, a lot of times, like, the lower in ranking you go, the better the guild, the less they care about you as a person, the more they care about you as a statistic, right? And there's a fallacy there, and you can still have that culture at a better guild, but you also have rules that say that, you have to meet these standards. But, you want a guild that cares about you. You genuinely want to be a part of that. That's a good thing. And if you don't care about other people and you're just there for the numbers, that's cool too. But honestly, it helps everybody stay a lot calmer, keeps things together a lot more if everybody actually just is on the same point there. They care. They ask you the right questions. Signs of a strong guild is they're asking you the right questions. They're asking all those questions that I had you ask them. They would have already asked you most of those questions. They're answered. And they're giving you the information before you ask. That's just the main thing. Signs of a strong guild, they have an organized first day of raid. Like I said, the more organized, the better. If they have a schedule, they're serious, right? If they have a schedule of who hits what early on, they're a serious guild, right? If their leaders or if they're high damage dealers log in to hit the first round, they're very serious about this. Like, we don't even do that. We don't even do that at all, because we don't want people to have to get up at 4 a.m. Yeah, so whatever. Like, organized first day of the raid, huge. Like, that shows that they're in charge. If you think it could be done more organized, it probably could. Active leadership. Signs of strong guild, active leadership. They don't have this. That guild will just not last long. It will not progress long, because if they don't have active leadership to set standards or remove people for breaking those standards, then that guild's not progressive. It's just not. It's a dead guild. like I said, just last thing, Sons of Strong Guilds, they remove people for breaking the rules. You can't have a strong guild with active leadership that doesn't remove people from breaking the rules. And breaking the rules could be a damage requirement. It could be not participating in each raid day. It could be just being a douche or whatever the requirements are. If they aren't doing it, if they're not removing the people for whatever reason, that's not a good sign. That's a real bad sign. That guild will have a hard time growing, and then people that aren't breaking the rules, that are excelling and kicking ass like you, you're going to get frustrated real fast. So why am I putting in the effort and that guy doesn't have to put in the effort? Like I'm having to hold that guy up. Socialism, let's go. But the whole point here is like you want their guild to be on top of their shit. That's important. You deserve that. If you're going to put in all the effort, you deserve that. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty much the way the guilds, like what I would perceive as a new player going in. And keep in mind, your server is going to differ. In A1, it's not going to be the most. In A1's progression level on guilds and organization isn't going to be like European servers, guild orientation, or even KRs. It's just different, right? So a level 50 guild requirement on one server will not be the same requirements on another server. But most of these things that I've said here gives you a pretty good idea on what to expect on most levels of guild recruiting. They're going to help, and they're going to give you a better sense of what's going on when you join a guild. And if they answer these questions wrong, it's kind of like a car dealership. Like if you go into a car dealership and they go, yeah, it's this much. If you're not ready to walk away, it's not a good thing, right? Like if you go into a guild and they're like, yeah, like this is our requirement. And you're like, all right, do you have any other questions? They're like, no, you meet our requirement. You got to be strong enough to walk away because that's not necessarily great. You got to take that into consideration. So either way, and hopefully, because what I'm doing is I'm also theoretically raising the bar for recruiters because they need to be on the ball with this stuff. Like, I mean, it sucks to get a member that, like, most of our members stay for 8 months minimal, right? For us, I mean, it's not like we say you must stay for 8 months, but they do because they like the environment. I mean, life changes, people get busy, you move on, and that's great. Like, honestly, it's a hobby. You're supposed to move on eventually, but at the same time, as long as you enjoy the people you're with while you do it and get to do what you love, and for me, that's raiding and organizing the raid and helping people and probably talking too much. Like, you're going to have a pretty good time. So hopefully I've helped in finding you that right home, finding you that right raid guild. And yeah, go out there, kick some ass. And, if you can, just tell me what your raid, like, just go ahead and comment. I never ask for comments, but once you get into a raid, tell me what your raid damage was previously and then where you got it to or whatever. Tell me if you went from 9th to 3rd on the ranking, whatever. That's kind of cool. I'd love to see that. So either way, hopefully it helps. And if you watch this long, because we're at like the 29th minute, you should really invest in like HBO or Disney Plus. There's some cool stuff on there that's way more interesting than my boring hobby video game stuff. Find some stuff. I don't know. Maybe get laid. It's time to move on, guys. Don't listen to me anymore. Jesus, subscribe or something.